Hello there and welcome back to the channel. My name is Aiden H Talks. I rank, review, and react to all types of movie media, and today we have a review and it's over The Flash. Now this movie has had all eyes on it for the longest time. I think it got a standing ovation when the press first got to see this movie a while back, and then since then it was getting so much love. It's actually been a roller coaster with DC and this movie. There's points where they had it and then they lost it, and then there was points where they had it again, and it's just been a wild ride. So now that the movie's finally out and people like me can review it, I'm excited to give my opinion and give my side to things because this movie is gonna be very divisive. I can already see all of the really high scores and the really low scores all over Twitter and all over Letterboxd. But you clicked on this video for a reason, so let me go ahead and give you my review. The Flash, PG-13, action and adventure, 2 hours and 24 minutes, has a 67 critic score and an 88% audience score. Worlds collide in The Flash when Barry uses his superpowers to travel back in time in order to change the events of the past. But when his attempt to save his family inadvertently alters the future, Barry becomes trapped in a reality in which General Zod has returned, threatening annihilation, and there are no superheroes to turn to. That is, unless Barry can coax a very different Batman out of retirement and rescue an imprisoned Kryptonian. Now, me personally, I found The Flash to be a delight. It's not the best movie of all time. It's not generational, it's not revolutionary, but it's definitely not the worst. I think we've certainly got comic book movies this year that have been way better. There's one that dropped this month that was better than this. There's been some in the past recent years, and I don't even think this is the best multiversal movie in the past couple of years. And that's nothing to take away from this movie. It's just all the hype that it's generated leading into its release have kind of skewed a lot of people. So there might be some audience members going in not knowing anything to expect and absolutely loving the movie, but there will also be those people that have kept up with all of the drama and controversy and not really liking the movie. And that's why I'm saying, depending on who you are, you might love it or hate it. This is gonna be a very divisive movie. However, I had a really good time with it, and I wanna start with some of the things that I loved in this film. First off, I want to praise its character work. When you're dealing with the Flashpoint paradox, albeit this movie doesn't really lean into it a whole bunch, it kind of uses the multiversal aspect as a plot point. But regardless, when you're dealing with the Flashpoint, it's one of the most creative and most memorable DC storylines to ever exist. You need to make those emotional moments work, such as Barry Allen's rage and his sadness and all of his internal conflict throughout this movie. And so Ezra Miller, and I know everything with the controversy, a lot of people don't like him. I think they did do a fantastic job with his character. They made Barry very likable and they made him very relatable. I could see myself going back in time to save my own mother, but he quickly realizes that that's a grave mistake and everything just unravels there. And so with that, the second and third act were very enjoyable. Once things pick up, they pick up a lot. But throughout all of this multiversal stuff, throughout 2 Batmans, a Supergirl, and 2 Flashes, they still make those moments with his mother work. They still make those moments with his past self work. Seeing both Barrys go back and forth and seeing the moments that they share together really made this feel heartwarming. It gave the movie a ton of heart, it gave the movie a ton of emotions, and so I could really appreciate that, because throughout this action-filled multiversal story with all of these visual effects and CGI going on all over the place, at its core, they're still able to give you those moments and they're still able to make it all work. You can tell in that aspect of the story that there was a lot of care, there was a lot of attention to detail, and I could very much appreciate that, because otherwise it would have just been Ant-Man Quantumania, a big, crazy, time loopy, multiversal VFX movie with no type of story arcs, with no type of character arcs, and just no emotion overall. So I think they nailed that down perfectly. But like I said, there's a lot that happens towards the end of the movie that can get convoluted, and that's a little quarrel I had with the movie. Towards the end, it gets to be this wild, crazy, wacky, like we're just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. It starts to become that, and I can see how that will lose people throughout the movie. There was times where it was starting to lose me a bit. We introduced characters, we have cameos. Real quick, right before I edit the video, I did also want to touch on the cameos in this movie. Now, I wanted to keep this spoiler free, so I'm not going to get into who showed up and when they showed up. But overall, the cameos, I did enjoy some of them. Others felt kind of forced. It kind of felt like they wanted someone recognizable for the sake of having someone recognizable. But there was others that were genuinely a good time and that were a good addition. Overall, they all fit into the story, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. But my theater did pop a couple times, so that was always fun to see. That was always fun to be around. And I just wanted to touch on them real quick. I don't know if I did in the video or not, so if I didn't, here you go. And if I did, here's a little bit more explanation on it. It gets to be a total mess at times. And so that's why I say I feel like we've had movies do these things better. But one thing that The Flash does better is it lets you live in that universe. And its best comparison is the company on the other side of the pond, Marvel. I feel like Marvel with its multiversal stuff hasn't really let you sit in those universes and live in those universes for that long. The closest thing is Multiverse of Madness, where we live in the Earth of the Illuminati. We get to stay in that for a little bit, but otherwise we're bouncing around a lot. And in The Flash, you get to live in that universe of Batman and Kal-El, and you get to experience how Barry has completely thrown off the timeline. So I can appreciate letting us sit in this universe, having this story take place in a completely different universe. I love that so much. And just like its comic counterpart, just like its animated counterpart, this movie is very creative. I wish we didn't have to have the multiverse play into this plot. I wish we could have done a full Flashpoint movie, but given everything, given James Gunn and given what they wanted to do in this movie, I can see why we added the multiverse. And while I'm touching on things that I didn't really like, I said earlier that the second and third act was when it picked up, and that's because it took me a while to get invested into this story. Throughout the first hour, I found myself bored. I found myself wanting it to hit that second gear. And granted, when it does, it goes all out and it's so much fun. But for that first hour, 45 minutes-ish, it's just a drag. Emotionally, I was invested from the jump. Generally, it took me a little bit. So that's why I can't say that this movie is one of the best of the year. I can't say that it's one of the best comic book movies since The Dark Knight. Is it one of the best? I think there's an argument for that, but then again, that's not really hard to beat with DC's recent track record. I certainly don't think this movie comes anywhere close to The Batman. I don't see this movie standing the test of time against The Batman 2 and other movies that James Gunn is gonna do for DC, so I can't really rate it as high as I would like to. I can't rate it as high as I thought I would at the beginning of the year. And so that's why I have to land at an 81 out of 100. Again, I didn't hate this movie. I don't know if my review came off as me bashing it or as me loving it too much, but I think 81 is a good spot for me. I feel like I was able to go in there, enjoy the movie, take it as what it is, and leave. But those people that have it at the 50s and 60s, I can also totally see why they would have it that low. I'm just saying, me personally, I had a lot of fun. So what did you think about The Flash? Let me know down below. Did you love it as much as me, or did you absolutely hate it? I'm curious to see what everyone thinks, because this movie is already split right down the middle. And if you want to hear an extra long discussion over this movie, be sure to check out our podcast, Words from the Nerds podcast. If you're watching this, it might already be out, and if it's not, keep an eye out for it. But without further ado, that's my review. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.